good people? Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Desmond. I've got my partner Dre here. We are the Michigan football post game, the Maize and Blue review. Uh, Please, while you're here, like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. We definitely appreciate it. This is the Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football channel. So please subscribe here. We are on a quest to be top three as far as subscribers goes for Mark Rogers, the different team channels that he has. Also, while you're at it, subscribe to Mark's main channel, The Voice of College Football. He will be doing some post-game recaps for some games today. He does a Wednesday live call-in show, so he is, and he usually joins us on Wednesdays as well. So he is constantly out and about putting out content. So we are recapping the Michigan and Northwestern game just wrapped up. Michigan wins 33-7. And Why I'm going to kick it off to my partner here, but while we're here, please let us know what city that you are tuning in from. So city and state would be awesome. Jersey Dre, my friend, how are you doing? What's the good word on the Wolverines?
Uh, Not very encouraging before MSU. Not very encouraging. I am very displeased, um, particularly on offense, with how they performed today. I don't want to hear anything about 200 plus yards rushing. We knew Northwestern has the worst rushing defense in the Big Ten, and Michigan has the number one rushing offense. So we knew that was going to be effective. But guess what? That's not going to fly next week. Not the way it flied this week. And if you pass the ball as bad as you did today, as incompetent as the passing game looked today, you're going to lose. We're going to lose next week. This was not a good performance. The seventh game in, offensively, particularly with the passing game, that's not going to do it. And people, this goes back to now they got the win, but we knew that they were 23 and a half favorites over Northwestern. This is not about the win. We knew they were going to win today, right?
Mhm.
So just squash that. They took care of business. Kudos, but they're not going to get some big round of applause for beating Northwestern. Okay, stop. So let's talk about what's really important, which is the matchup for next week. This is supposed to be a tune-up game for that, right? Because you had a bye last week, so it was supposed to be a tune-up. This was not a good performance. Defensively, outside of the 76-yard touchdown run, they played very well. They did what they normally do. But offensively, that was not a good performance overall. That terrible play calling by Josh Gaddis. Once again, and look, it's not like the receivers had a ton of separation, so it's partly on them. But Cade did not look sharp today, particularly on any passes down the field. And you're going to have to hit those, man. You're going to have to. And once again, there was balls overthrown or not thrown in the right direction, at least to help lead receivers open, right? Things that good quarterbacks have to be able to do, especially when, and there was times where, the Northwestern corners or secondary were playing good coverage. That doesn't give you an excuse for not completing the pass. That means as a quarterback, sometimes when your receiver has one step, you're going to have to lead them open a little bit, and it's not very, today wasn't very encouraging, in particular, trying to get, ready for next week. And I'm not feeling too good about it, and let me be very honest. Like, I don't, this is not about being negative. This is not about, woe is me. Guys, I've said it from the preseason video we did to week one that the way I judge this team is how they're doing. I mean, what trajectory are they on with the goal of winning the Big Ten? Which, regardless of how we got here, this is year 7 on the hardball. The goal should be to win the Big Ten, especially since we have not done it before. And while I do enjoy the wins and I'm happy to win, I can't ignore the red flags that I see. And with this passing game, it's been a constant red flag. The quarterback controversy, who should start, JJ or Cade, it continues to be a a unresolved issue. 7 games in now, more than halfway through the season. And here's what I know we're going to get into it, but here's what I can tell you. JJ may not have the experience that Cade has, which is not a ton coming into the season overall, but he does at least have a dynamic. He has wiggle, man. He can run. And we know he has a better arm than Cade. Now, maybe he doesn't have the touch, or maybe he doesn't have quite the composure Cade does, especially it makes sense. He's a true freshman. But man, I'm telling you, it's and when I say unresolved, I mean like from the coaching staff, not that Cade has not backed the perceived confidence that the staff has in him. They start him, they don't even question that he's a starter, right? At least not in public.
Yeah,
right?
doesn't seem to be.
So when I say unresolved, it's like we as fans, and we're watching the game, this doesn't make any sense. We don't really get Cade is not his play is not justifying this supreme confidence, right? It's safe. But so and it's just I can't look, they're 7-0. You gotta give them credit, but this is when the schedule's it starts next Saturday. And now it's about to get real. So these issues that Des and I have been talking about week to week, the spotty play calling on offense, the lack of consistent quarterback play, the lack of downfield threats, it's about to come to a head. And I'm not saying Michigan's going to lose, but if you think we're going to get away with the way we've been playing offensively, the inconsistent play on Saturday, then you're wrong. We're about to find out who they really are. Go ahead, Des. I'm sorry, I got long-winded there.
No, you're good. So, question I would pose to you. So, Cade finishes 20 of 27, 129 yards, no picks, no touchdowns. So, obviously, the yardage is just awful. How much of that, if you give me a percentage, how much of that are you going to put on Josh Gaddis and Jim Harbaugh, whoever's calling the plays? How much blame as far as the passing game not being efficient, explosive? How much do you put that on the play caller versus your QB?
Well, I have to put more on a play caller because, and this goes back to something we talked about every week, especially when the season just started and the schedule was very vanilla, right?
And they told us we were crazy.
It's real crazy.
You guys don't want us to throw it for
40 times and like that. And the reason why this, and you know this, but the reason why we were harping on that, it wasn't about the final result in that particular game.
Correct.
But it was to find out truly what do you have, right? What do you have as a quarterback? What do you have in terms of receiver threats? What plays work? What can you go to?
And think of it this way: in week 1, I believe it was Western, right? And who was the week 2 opponent? It's been like 4 weeks now, but it was another team that we were very sure that Michigan was going to beat, right? So let's say in those 2 games, Cade has 40 pass attempts, right? Each game, right? So after those 2 games, he has 80 pass attempts. Say he's 50% completion percentage, has thrown a couple picks, maybe 2 picks, 2 touchdowns, and you're just like, he's not the guy. Let's go with JJ.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's part of it. And I didn't think that would happen as far as, Cade just falling off a cliff. But that's the whole point, was to see what you have in a pass game so that once you get to that point to where, I mean, you're in the point of the season now, you got to have it. You have to have it. Like there is no figuring it out. Like you've got to have it now. So I'm pretty sure that Michigan State's going to be a pretty tough game. I think we're going to be in a dogfight. I don't know. I agree. I think he's got to play better, but to me, there's something to be said too for going 20 of 27. Like that's not atrocious by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah, but
right?
when 50%, I mean, dude, I'm not. They may have gotten one. I think at some point in the fourth quarter, Joe Klatt said that Michigan didn't have a completion past 20 yards. So it's like, yeah, great. You're 20 of 27, 160 plus 160 passing yards. Most of that's off bubble screens and swing passes. You know what I'm saying? 5-yard curls. a few times, some 10 and outs. Like I'm sorry, like that's just not going to get it done. That's not going to get it done. There's a difference between being efficient because you're being a check down Charlie, and actually, being effective. Can you convert a 3rd and 10? What happens when you're running the ball effectively and then you have one holding call? I mean, think about that.
Right.
The way Michigan's offense, our style of play is, we're one bad penalty on offense from that being you can pretty much guarantee being a
Almost an
wasted
auto
drive,
punt.
an
Yep,
auto punt,
auto punt. Yep.
right? Because
You get a
now we're
holding
looking for
call
the sticks.
9 times. If you get a holding call against a good defense,
Yeah,
I mean, it's
over.
you're trending towards that. You're trending towards like,
Yeah,
okay, 1st and 15, 1st and 20, we're punting, like
yeah,
no doubt about it.
yeah,
Because I mean, there was a 3rd and 4, and I believe it was either third quarter. I think it was like third quarter, and they just went with essentially like a inside zone run play, and Blake Corum broke a tackle and ran for like, I don't know, 15 yards, something like that. But I'm just
mhm.
like, the fact that like 3rd and 4 is like, it's just, I don't know, man.
And
I
you
look
see
for
it.
me, I look at Gaddis and Harbaugh. That's kind of how I look at it, because it's difficult for Cade to push the ball down the field when all we're calling is little sticks routes. I mean, there was a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 7 in the third quarter, and literally, I mean, it was Cade threw to Baldwin, and it was literally run 2 yards past the first down marker and we'll throw it to you. Like
Yeah.
that's the most elementary play calling that you can have. Like
Mhm.
that's, come on, like that's just not. It's, I don't know. I don't think
And you're
this
seeing
game,
it.
and for Michigan fans, if you guys feel different, but I don't feel like this game gave you any boost in confidence
No,
for next week.
no.
And if so, if I'm just off, definitely let me know. But on the to play devil's advocate with it, I will say that this was the prototypical trap game. You've got, everybody, you're undefeated. Everybody's telling you, how great you are. You guys are great, blah, blah, blah. You got a team that you're favored, 24 points against, a 24-point favorite. And you got a huge game next week, a huge rivalry game next week. So
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for that, a little bit, for the players. Coaches, like play callers, there's no, what can you say? Like that shouldn't be an issue for you, but I'm very concerned after the play calling, and like I said, you started off with it of, we get it, they're 7-0, they won the game 33-7. You're never going to complain about that, but it doesn't look like the number 6 team in the country.
No.
That's the
Right. And
that's
for
the
people's
net
credit,
net of
look,
it.
even you text me that, and I think you tweeted it out. Look, a lot of highly ranked teams today are struggling a little bit. Oklahoma struggling with
Hmm.
Kansas, Penn State struggling with Illinois. So it's not like Michigan's the only one. So
Right.
that's true, but we're not doing a post game for Penn State. We're not doing a post game for Oklahoma. Okay, we're doing it for the University of Michigan, and it's with respect to what lies ahead next week, right? And the
Hmm.
fact of the matter is, you just came off a bye, and this was your performance today. And like I said, I feel like I need to say this because people take criticism and they hear it as negativity. It's not negativity. I'm very happy with being 7-0. I think if someone would have they've already been
Exceeded what we thought.
exceeded what we thought they could do. Let's get
Hmm.
that out of the way, okay? I'm very proud with how they turn things around so quickly, right? You
Hmm.
gotta give them credit. But now you're on a trajectory, and you have a legitimate opportunity to win this conference, right? Des, you say it all the time. When those windows are open, we gotta jump through them. And
Hmm.
we're so close, guys. We're so close. And because we're close, you can't get so caught up in the short term, this particular Saturday, go blue, we got it done, and that be the full scope of your view. Can it be part of it? Yes, it's part of being a fan and enjoying the moment, but also understanding the big picture. And part of the big picture is there are some red flags with this offense, and it's going to get exposed. It's going to get exposed. Okay. And we're very fortunate that Michigan's defense and Mike McDonald, they're doing such a good job of just suffocating teams and causing havoc in the backfield. But one thing about MSU, they have their own flaws. We saw they struggle with Indiana last week, so that is true as well. But we also know they have some legitimate threats on the outside, and they can score some points. Peyton Thorne and Jalen Reed, and they can they can hit you down the field. Kenneth Walker the third, he struggled a little bit last week in comparison to how he played earlier this year, but he's a threat, man. It's going to be tough to keep MSU under 20 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to score with them. It's just you can't overlook your opponent, and they are ranked that high for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who they played? Well, who have we played? Right? So it's like you got to be honest about it. You don't have to like it, but you got to keep the big picture in mind. And Michigan, once again, they won today, but I see his post the comment there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Todd, to respond, thanks for the comment. Says covered the spread, won the game. Where's the positive speech? If your goal for this season is just to beat Northwestern, congratulations, you've won the season. That's it. But I would think that your goal for Michigan would be to win the Big Ten, go to or at least get to Indianapolis. So win the division, I would think, and get to Indianapolis and play for a Big Ten championship. Even further than that, probably go to the college football playoff. I mean, you're 7-0 right now. You're going into a rivalry game. Granted, you've got a tough schedule these last few games, but I mean, with if I would have told you, Dre, that Michigan would be 7-0 right now, trending towards Michigan State, you probably wouldn't have believed me.
No,
You would have said, "Des, no, you would have
not the
said
last year. No, absolutely not.
Washington's a toss-up. You said we
Right.
could easily lose that game, and you
Wisconsin's
probably
a
would have
loss.
penciled in a Wisconsin
Yeah.
loss." So the thing is if I approach it, and I think we both approach it to the effect of uh, Michigan, of where they are right now, they should win the Big Ten. And but the thing is you're not going to do it playing the way that you played against Northwestern in that first half. Went to halftime with 10 points, and
Yeah.
if you think you can do that against Michigan State, I just don't think that's real. I mean, and there's plenty of people in the other fans in the comment section that agree that this is what we have always seen from Harbaugh, with a good run, a team that run heavy offense, ball control, play some good defense, and that's what they're going to roll out,
Right.
which works 70% of the time, which is his win percentage since he's been at Michigan. But when you play the elite teams for the 30% of the time, Penn State, Wisconsin, I know you beat them this year, but Penn State, Wisconsin, Ohio State, when you play those teams, that's not going to cut it. You have to bring a different element to the game. 129 passing yards is not going to cut it against Michigan State.
I thought Joe Klatt, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm not a huge fan of Joe Klatt. He can be kind of a homer for my Wolverines at times because I like and people, look, I'm sorry guys, if you want homer style podcasting, you're not going to get it. This ain't it. Okay, Pete, don't if you want us to glorify and cheerlead. That's not it. And to me, that's not real. That's you want to feel better about yourself. You want to feel like you're hot stuff. We're not the people for you. Okay, we're going to
we have higher expectations of the team, like exactly. That, and that's the net of it.
I will give the team credit for the things they earn, and the things that they struggle with, I will call out. That's called being, I'm speaking on what I see. If the team is clicking on all faces of the ball, I will say so. And I would love to come on here. You say, my goodness, man, we're clicking. Caden was fantastic. We're running the football. Y'all saw me against Nebraska. We were talking about the Nebraska game. I said I had zero fear going to Nebraska. If I see that we have an advantage or we are playing well in certain aspects, I will say so. I want to be able to do that. But I don't believe in just acting like we're in some la-la dream fantasy where, everything is awesome. I'm sorry, that's not that's not realistic. That's what sets you up on typical years where we're blasting new teams, and then we play against Ohio State, we play in that Penn State, and we get punched in the mouth, and all you guys who want the Kool-Aid, looking stupid. Like, what will happen? Well, you weren't paying attention to the signs
And they
leading
were
up to
there.
the game. They were always there. They were always there. So that's why we talk the way we talk. It's not about negativity. It's not about negativity.
Yeah.
God,
It's
so frustrating.
like there's a lot to, like I said, there's a lot of factors coming into this game. You're coming off a bye week, and like I said, the prototype for a trap game, this is it. So I do understand that part, but there's just situation in the grand scheme. I think the Michigan's issues offensively is they don't understand or they don't execute situational football. There's no way you should be kicking a field goal from the 1 yard line with the run game. Like, that plays right into what you do well. You need to get 1 yard and you decide to kick a field goal there. My thought is, even if you don't get the yard, I'd still like you to go for it,
Yeah.
because just because of,
Tunnel
you're
vision,
playing
Des. Tunnel
Northwestern.
vision,
And
Des. It's tunnel vision. That's what Harbaugh does. And you know, if there's one criticism of Jim, and he's done, you got on one aspect, you got to give him credit. As bad as last year looked, the controversy with him getting an extension or not, him to come back, to get the team on board, to make the coaching changes that he made, you got to give him all the credit in the world.
yes.
Okay? But on the flip side, you know, the way he's approached this season has been very, very tunnel vision, very, very short term thinking. Let's win this game. And part of it, I understand, is because let's be honest, there's a lot of heat on him this year. With the way last year went. So I think one thing that's evident was they approached every game very safe. Let's win this week. Let's win this week. Let's win this week. Let's not worry about the long term, right? Because if he was thinking about the long term, there's no way JJ doesn't start. There's no way. Because one thing is clear is that JJ has a higher ceiling. He has the higher ceiling, right? He may not even be the better quarterback when it's all said and done. We'll find out. But he definitely has the higher ceiling. So it's at some point when you're doing that, it can end up burning you when the rubber meets the road and it's like, okay, we've been a run trick pony here and there, but because we haven't diversified ourselves enough, we're not ready to win different styles of games. You know what I'm saying? And it's just you gotta, and I know it's a balancing act. I'm not saying it's easy, guys. I'm not saying I could do it, but you have to really pay attention to those type of things. There's a reason why it's 7 games in the season. Think about this: 7 games in the season for a team that's 7-0. Why are we still talking about quarterback controversy? Think about that.
True. It just, the thing that I continue to go back to is Mark brought it up, the stat line of a quarterback going 27 for 36 for 260 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. And that was Cade last year against Rutgers. And granted, I get it. Rutgers, I think at that time was 1-4, not a very good team. But I just don't think that guy disappeared and left. And maybe I'm wrong with that in my thought process, but I just don't think that guy left. I think I'm wholeheartedly, to me, I'm looking at it of 70% on the play calling, 30% on Cade. Because you can only do so much. If we call all hitch routes, there's no way I'm going to be able to throw the ball down the field. All of the routes are 5 to 7 yards, and I'm that's just an example. But I just don't think that guy has disappeared and gone. And maybe he has, because the unfortunate part is when you look at previous quarterback play under Harbaugh, the last guy we had before Joe Milton last year, of Shea Patterson. I mean, when he was at Ole Miss, he was a gunslinger, pushing the ball down the field, aggressive, and he got here and he was not that guy anymore. So maybe I'm just wrong in my thought process, but at the end of the day, if Michigan gets in trouble versus Michigan State, you're still able to go to JJ. Like I think in that regard, they have done a pretty good job of giving him time and giving him reps where
especially
if
today.
he's needed it, let's say first quarter, you're down 10 zip, offense
Right,
isn't doing anything, you
right.
can go to JJ in the second quarter and not totally lose Cade. You know what I mean? Because this is something that this is the norm. Like JJ getting reps is just the norm. Like him having playing time. So I don't think it puts anybody in the tank or anything like that. And I think it's something you could still go back and forth with. But um, it's just a tough spot. You know, it's a tough spot because early in the season when Michigan had teams that they were definitely going to beat of the Northern Illinois and Westerns, we didn't test out. We didn't take our car for a test drive. So we really have no idea what's going to happen when we, have to take a 13-mile or 13-hour trip with it. So
You know,
we really don't know.
I want to hit on two things. One, I give Harbaugh credit because I think around the 7-minute mark in the fourth quarter, they put JJ in there, and they let him rip it a little bit, let him throw the ball, and I was glad to see that. And I think Joe Clyde and Gus Johnson knows that too, because there's a because of the way things have been going with the passing game, there is a real possibility that at some point JJ may be playing like consistently, like he may not come out. Because you took next week is a must win.
Oh yeah.
Harbaugh cannot lose that game. And it's not just about being undefeated and winning the Big Ten this year. It's about the big picture of Mel Tucker in his first year beating you at home. Granted, I know it was COVID. I know there was no fans in the big house. I understand all that. But I'm just saying, like, Harbaugh cannot lose that game. And so there's a chance that they might be putting in, JJ, and people just have to understand. Like, you cannot get so caught up in the front of the scoreboard, and it's okay to be happy. My face may not look like I'm smiling ear to ear, but I am happy. I'm happy to be 7. No, don't think I'm not. But I don't feel good. I don't see how you could have, if you watched the game from beginning to end today, how can you feel great about it? Seriously, like if you really watch the game, not just highlights, right? Like, oh, we scored another touchdown. Oh, Aiden got another sack. We got a fumble. You're just looking at the highs, right? But are you really watching the game? Are you watching? Us missing passes down the field. Are you watching the miscues? The things. It's easy to get caught up in the things that are fun, right? The highlights. But what about the mistakes and the missed opportunities that can hurt us, can cause us to lose games? That's part of the whole viewing experience. So when we're doing this show, we're going based on both of that. And no, Corey, I saw your comment. I'm not panicking, but I am uneasy. I am uneasy 7 games in the season that I still have these concerns, right?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
and Corey made a comment about throwing the ball. It happened against Nebraska was one of the examples that he used. But I mean, even then, like I think the play calling was good against Nebraska. But nonetheless, you had 38 pass attempts and you still only had 255 yards. And Cade didn't throw a touchdown. He threw a pick. Like, so it's not as if they were super efficient even in that game. So it at the end of the day, and I just highlighted the comments. Like, yes, they are 7-0, right? They're undefeated, trending towards a huge match. And what I will say too is, if College Game Day is not in East Lansing,
oh, they will be. They will be.
oh man, that would be crazy.
Oh, it's huge. It should be a
But also
3:30
also
kick, but
too,
whatever,
I was just gonna say that. I was like, the noon kick.
whatever.
How do you feel about the noon
The
kick
big
for?
noon. Yeah. I'm sorry, man. Like, and granted, look, um, uh, I think Wisconsin, Penn State, their first game of the year, it was the big noon game as well. And they were both ranked in the top 10, I think. Um, no, that was week 1. But look, the Michigan Ohio State games at 12. So I mean, I'm kind of used to our big games being at noon.
But that's
However,
different. That's
I
different.
know it is.
That
However,
game never changes. That kick time never
I
ever
know at
changes.
least we've seen Michigan and Michigan State at 7, right?
Right.
It's just I don't know. I mean, I got on one aspect of it, it's if you're on the winning side of that game, the rest of your Saturday you get to enjoy. You get to really have a good rest of your Saturday, right? If you're on the loser side of that game, your rest of your Saturday is pretty. It's a
Ugh,
long
yeah,
night, long evening,
yeah.
and it's not gonna be too fun. But yeah, it is what it is,
And I
man.
and I don't know who has the say on that, but for me, in my just analysis, I guess, or my 2 cents, whatever you want to call it, I just think that that would have been a great time to, if possible, have a 7 p.m. kick. If even if you just say we don't do 7 p.m. kicks, okay, great. At least a 3:30,
Yeah.
like just to be able to showcase like two of the just the big programs in the Big Ten. Maybe not
Mhm.
the two marquee, because I would probably say that's Michigan and Ohio State, but nonetheless, with Michigan and Michigan State, like big rivalry game, both are undefeated, top 6 teams, top 7 teams, like I just thought that would have been a great job and a great opportunity for the Big Ten to just showcase two of their teams. And now I do think Ohio State's got a 7 p.m. game against.
Penn
I'm
State?
not sure who it
Is
is.
it Penn
Maybe
State?
yeah, I think it might be Penn State. So
Yeah.
maybe so they've got the 7 p.m. kick, but I don't know. I just thought that could have been a
That's a
great
good thing
opportunity.
too. I mean, look, unfortunately, I think Ohio between Michigan and Ohio State have the biggest pool, in the conference. And I think in that situation, maybe they picked Ohio State because Ohio State's number one or whatever it is, whatever. But this game is monumental. I whoever wins this game, I mean, it's legitimate. It's legitimate to say whoever wins this game has a really, 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 really strong chance to get this thing done and win a conference. Like because they're for both these teams. We want to a lot of Michigan fans, myself included. Once D'Antonio, I thought D'Antonio in the history of MSU football was the anomaly, right? I thought once D'Antonio left, they would go back to being, you know, um, second fiddle to us, right? Guess what?
Mhm.
That's not happening. And Mel Tucker's doing a really good job. MSU's not going anywhere. So stop looking over them. They haven't played anybody. Guess what? We haven't either. We haven't either. Right? Well, they struggle with this. Guess what? We got our own issues. Don't you hear what me and Des are talking about? Right? So it's like, I have confidence. I believe in my team. I think we're good enough to beat MSU. But don't get it twisted. That team in East Lansing plays hard for Mel Tucker. They got some talent. That they're Pat. What's his name? Palacini. Gosh, I'm
Oh,
drawing.
the D end? Is that
Yeah.
what you're talking about?
What is his
Oh,
name?
I'm not
It's
sure.
with a P. I don't know why I'm struggling with the kid's name, but he leads the nation in rushes, pass rushes. Excuse me, QB pressures is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, like guys, Kenneth Walker the third is a Heisman Trophy potential candidate. Like you can't don't go into next week thinking things are sweet, and taking that team lightly. So it's a balance. It's a balancing act, right? And that's just how that's the beauty and the hard part about this point in the schedule, that these games are tough, and you it's going to be a dogfight, and it's going to be a mixture of preventing as many mistakes as possible and capitalizing on opportunities. Those are the teams that tend to win these games,
You
right?
know,
So we'll see.
yeah. The thing that I'm looking at the last 5 games that Michigan has, and there's 3 very big games there, but this, with Indiana not being what we thought they would be, I mean, I'm not sure it gets any better with having the teams that they have to play, because you got to play Michigan State, right? That's a tough one. But
Yeah,
you think about it, number one, today's game, like this wasn't an overly physical game for
yeah,
Michigan where they had to fight it out, scrap it out. I mean, Donovan Edwards got a lot of touches, got some touches. So you've got today, then you've got Michigan State next week, then you have Indiana before you play Penn State, and then you get Maryland before you play Ohio State. And I'm not looking past Maryland. but nonetheless, like as far as you know what I mean, like you don't have any of those tough teams back to back weeks. Like you get a what I would consider a lesser team in between those big games. So I mean, it's that's about as good as you're gonna get with it because I think Ohio State gets, I want to say, or no, I think Penn State gets Michigan State November 13th, and then, or no, so Michigan plays Penn State on November 13th, and I think they play Michigan State the week after that, so on the 20th. So it's there's a lot of teams that have it's not ideal, but as far as those last 5 games, like that's about as well as you can stack those games
But
is
you know what?
with Indiana.
But you know what? At this point in the season, once you get to game 7, 8, 9, you kind of are who you are, and that's how we're really going to find out who this Michigan team is. I saw someone put a comment, that how we need to understand that this is a rushing football team. Well, okay, fine. No, you're missing the point. We're not saying that there's something wrong with our rushing attack being our number one threat. It's about the diversity of when that doesn't work as well. Okay, no, we're not going. Most likely, MSU, Penn State, Ohio State, they're not going to limit us, under 100 yards rushing. Okay, that's very difficult to do. We're not saying that. But I think Joe Klatt said I like this analogy that he used during the game today, is that, Michigan's rushing attack is like a fastball pitcher, a pitcher's fastball, right? But what happens when a team takes our fastball away?
Yep.
What do we do? That is a legitimate quick question.
Agreed.
And you can't fantasize or work your way around it. That is legitimate, and that is something that at some point we'll find out if they can do. It's very, very difficult, even when you're strong at doing something, to do it week in and week out and week in and week out, and not and have it at the exact same level and effectiveness, right? I'm sorry. It just is what it is. No one is saying that we're going to be a team that's going to pass it 40 times every week. We were saying 40 times we were playing weaker opponents where we knew we were going to win those games regardless, right? So we were trying to, that's the time where you experiment and do things outside of your norm a little bit, right? Just in case at this point in the season, it might be needed. Maybe not, but it could be. But at least if it does come up and you do need to throw a change up or a curveball, that you can do it. And now ask you guys out there, do you know if Michigan, if need be, can win the game with the passing attack?
That's an interesting question. And I will answer that and get to that. But watch me pop just put Penn State versus Illinois is in 6 overtime. And
Incredible.
that is true. It is they're starting on their 6 overtime right now. It's 16-16. Very interesting too. Penn State plays Ohio State next week. So you've got a 6 overtime game that you're playing today, and then you're going to play Ohio State next week. So
trap gang. Trap gang.
Hey, I mean, look, let's look on the bright side. For Michigan, your trap game finished 33-7. Penn State's trap game is in 6 overtimes,
Clifford returned today. I saw Clifford play today.
2 for 5.
Clifford returned today too.
Seems like it doesn't matter because you only have 16 points in here.
You're right about that.
Oh, we've got an interesting. So, can Michigan win a game passing the ball? I think they can, but the tough part is I'm rolling the dice on Josh Gaddis.
Hold up, before you finish, let me make that very, very clear so people understand. Don't say, oh, we passed the ball against Nebraska, we passed against Wisconsin. Let me be very clear. When I say win a game passing the ball, think about scenarios in which it's easier to pass the ball when you want to, like you're winning 20-7 and
you're ahead of the sticks. It's like, it's 2nd and 1.
Right.
Let's throw it. Just
let's play
can.
Right. The heck with it. Let's do a flea flicker. The heck with it. Compared to what if you're down 14-3? Right. And and you're down 14-3, or a better case, you're down 21-10 for a quarter, or 24-10 for a quarter, 11 minutes left. Yeah, you're not going to run the football a lot, right? Because you want to be careful of draining too much time. You want to get a little bit more chunk plays, right?
Yeah.
Can you do that? Right?
I
Those are
yeah.
scenarios, right? See that's where it gets tricky.
Yep.
That's what I mean by winning the game passing. When you actually you have to pass the ball. That's what I mean. But go ahead. Now you answer the question.
Um, I so I know the ability is there for the personnel that you have. I'm rolling the dice on Josh Gaddis having a good day, and that's just it's just all over the place. Like I don't, I'm not gonna lay. I mean, I've got, I wouldn't put $10 on, Josh Gaddis having a good day in a big game. I'm just not gonna. I just from what he's shown me, I'm not sure I can. I would be willing to bet on that. So I really can't say. I No, I can't say that. Interesting question here. Well, interesting statement by D Brown says Michigan is the most complete team in the Big Ten, and Corey posed a good question too that we'll get to next. But do you agree with this statement, Dre, or do you disagree with this statement?
No, I don't agree. I mean, how can we say that when we're able to identify glaring red flags, right? Like no, I can't go there because complete, I think actually is it flies right in the face of what I've been saying about this team, which is that they're not, especially on offense, not extremely diverse. And just when I say diverse, I don't mean you're going to be great at everything. I'm not expecting us to have a great passing game and a great rushing game, but it's to be able to, one has to complement the other, and they should both at least be respectable. And I don't think opponents respect Michigan's passing attack. I don't think they fear Michigan's passing attack.
Do we know how good
They're
Michigan's
really good,
defensive backs are?
huh?
Do we know how good Michigan's defensive backs are?
Not quite, but I do know that they are better. They are better than they were last year.
Okay,
You know,
I would agree with that.
and which is
But
a big improvement. Big
yeah,
improvement.
agreed. Okay, so Corey posted a question: True or false? Our defense will keep us in every game.
True.
I
True.
would agree with that as well. I think that is true.
Absolutely. And
I think, and that kind of goes directly with the question I just asked: is how good are the defensive backs? We think that they're pretty good, but we don't really know because there's not been a team that's really challenged them, as far as the defensive backs. Like every team, Michigan's played has been outside of Western Michigan, I think, has been at least a balanced offense or a run heavy, offense. So
oh,
that'll be interesting.
okay. Now I see what D Brown was saying. They weren't saying that Michigan is a complete team. I think he was saying more of a complete team in the Big Ten than anybody. Okay, now let me readdress that question.
No, he said Michigan is the most complete team in the Big Ten. That's what he said.
Compared to Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan State. I don't know, man. No, I still can't say they're more complete than Ohio State because even though Ohio State has had issues on defense, particularly with the stopping the rushing attack,
Hmm.
um, I still think offensively they're definitely complete. They don't have a weakness offensively. Um, they may be the most talented offensive team in the country.
Ohio
Um,
State.
yes,
I
offensive.
think their quarterback is actually. I would look at him like a weak link. I would say.
Weak link in comparison to previous years. But I don't think he's a weak link in terms of his peers in the conference. I mean, I still think he's top three in the conference. CJ Stroud is
Yeah,
top three quarterback. Yeah, I'm
I would
just
agree
being
with
honest.
that.
Like, like I don't think I've been very, very, consistent. What I've been telling you, Des, is that I don't think he has the moxie and composure of the JT Barrett's and the, you know, the Justin Fields or Dwayne Haskins. He doesn't have quite those guys' moxie and composure, but he's definitely talented. He's a talented kid. He can make throws. I just don't think he has the composure that those guys do. But he's definitely good enough, especially with the weapons Ohio State has, to get the job done. Right? He's not going to hold them back in terms of executing. The problem is for them is if you can get Ohio State in a dogfight. I've seen, especially against Oregon, even at Minnesota, I've seen CJ struggle with handling those bigger moments, right? So that's the key. But you have to get them, in that, keep them in that dogfight. Keep yourself in striking range. And the interesting thing about when Michigan plays them will be, can Michigan score enough to keep the game close to get to that point in a fourth quarter, where maybe you can force CJ to make a mistake, right? But we'll get there when we get there. But no, I don't know. I still won't say Michigan's the most complete team. I think it's close, but I think that's a strong statement to say based on Michigan's own weaknesses.
You mentioned Stroud being a top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten. Who would you say right now? Who would be the best quarterback in the Big Ten right now?
Oh, really, no one's playing great, man.
I know.
No one's playing great. That's a tough one to answer. I mean, statistically, you could go Stroud. Statistically, yes.
Yeah.
Clifford's always up and down. I think Peyton Thorne, he's up and down too. Clifford, he's the same thing, up and down. You never know what you're going to get with him. That's a tough one. I mean, I think
statistically, that is. I'm not sure I'm prepared to answer that. It'd probably be Stroud.
Statistically, you got to give it to him. I mean, like it's not to say that he's like a fantastic quarterback, but compared to his peers, yeah, I think he's the best one.
Would the younger brother of Tua have a shot at top 5? Or
shot,
I'm sorry,
absolutely.
top three. I'm sorry, top 3.
A shot, absolutely, because everybody's been so spotty. Like there hasn't been really any quarterback in the Big Ten that's been very consistent, week to week. I mean, we thought going into the season that Graham Mertz is going to be one of those guys, but he's really, really disappointed.
Man, what is going on there?
He really disappointed. But no, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And part of that's due to like the inconsistent play of everybody else.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year. But yeah, I agree. It's tough. I think Talia had like 4 or 5 picks their last game. Like he just fell off a cliff. So it'll be, man. So trending towards, I mean, we're trending towards Michigan State. Dude, this is going to be a huge game. I'm super excited about it.
Wait
because
Wednesday. Wait to Wednesday preview show. I want to promise something, guys. We might be doing so a little bit, adding a few different extra things on Wednesday. So we'll see. But Wednesday's excited. Look, guys, you may not.
They're still going. They're in the 9th overtime. Oh wait, Illinois just won. Wow. If my ESPN.com app is website is working correctly,
everybody in the comments
Illinois won.
Just won. You know what, man? This is crazy, dude. You got Iowa going down last week, Penn State going down this week, and you know what, Des? We talked about it. Remember, in terms of winning the Big Ten, now you can knock Penn State out of it. Unless something crazy happens where Michigan, MSU, and Ohio State both get 2 losses. We thought this was a 14 race to win the Big Ten East. You can knock Penn State out now. Hey.
But that doesn't mean that. But here's the concerning part is what you don't want to happen is Michigan to look past them coming up to that week. You know what I mean? To be like, oh, well, they've already. You know what I mean? They're out of the Big Ten race. Like, forget about them, and then they mess around and ruin your season.
Right.
That's just what you don't want to.
It's going to be at Penn State. We know how Michigan plays there. But no doubt. But no, man, it just shows you got what happened to Iowa last week, and Penn State now. It just proves, and that's why we were talking about it. I didn't get the chance to do the preview show on Wednesday, but me and you were texting about it. Like going into this game, you couldn't mess around with Northwestern. And to be honest, the first quarter really wasn't pretty for Michigan today.
Michigan did actually mess around with.
They did for a little bit. They did. I think if Northwestern, I put it to you like this: if this was last year's Northwestern team, what last year, 2 years ago, maybe it was last year.
Last year. No,
If this
last
was
year
last
because
year's
they were
Northwestern team,
Justin Fields had his worst
right,
game of the season
right,
against them.
right. If
Yep.
this was last year's Northwestern team, there's a chance that could happen to Michigan today. Not because necessarily that Northwestern team was more talented than this Michigan team, but 18 and 22-year-old kids, man, like especially when they're having a really good season, keeping them focused, and not overlooking their opponent, it's tough. Now, especially when they got a big game upcoming. And look, and we saw what happened to Penn State today, and it's that's how it works.
So I have a tough question for you, and I'm sure our Michigan fans won't like it. But question for you: if Jim Harbaugh and Michigan lose this game next week on Saturday, does that wipe out all of the goodwill that he's done up until this point this year?
It would definitely feel like it. I would have to revisit that question at the end of the season and see how things play out.
That's not fair.
Okay, so okay,
I mean, you can't say that. You can't be like,
Is that
well, let me wait till the end of the
cop
season
out
to figure it
answer?
out.
Is a cop out answer?
Yes, that's
Okay.
absolutely a cop-out answer.
Okay, fine. So I'll answer it based on at the moment. Then yes, it would. Yes, it would, because it would be like this is the first legitimate team you played all year, and you lost. So it would be the perception that you got exposed. You only took advantage of bad teams, right? Or average teams at the best, at the very best. And it will be a deja vu of Jim Harbaugh's tenure in Michigan for the most part, which is that he beats up on the bad to average teams and he loses against the good ones. And it will be just that reminder of this is what he will always be here in Michigan. You know what I'm saying? It would be terrible on all fronts. And I hate to sound dramatic, but it really would be. And the only times we can beat MSU is when they're bad. We can never beat MSU when they're solid. Think about the years we lost to MSU on the hardball. 15, 17. Well, I guess you can exclude last year. They weren't necessarily good, but for the most part, when MSU is
They
respected.
didn't beat him last year.
True. I'm sorry. You're right. Gosh.
which isn't great. Like
Which is
that's
great
the
either.
thing too.
But
No, they
typically,
weren't great, but they got one against you.
yeah. But typically, when MSU is has their stuff together, no, we don't beat them. So that it would be another reinforcement of that. So it'll be terrible to lose. It's Saturday. Next Saturday is I can't lose. It's a must. It's a must win. You have to win it. You have to.
So because of that, do you have any concerns? So we haven't really talked about Harbaugh and his kind of mentality. Do you have any concerns that you go into that game with the super safe, super conservative offensive play calling, right? And let's look at the contrast of like a Wisconsin game, right? You come out and throw a flea flicker on the first drive, of the game. You're if truly Harbaugh is thinking the same way we are, then you'd probably think, you know what I mean, that he's not gonna take chances in
I
that
disagree.
game.
I disagree because
Okay.
I thought Wisconsin had the same, almost kind of the same build up in terms of a place where Harbaugh, a team that Harbaugh, when they're good, struggles to beat, especially on the road. And one thing we talked about during that game is that I thought Jim came out real. He understood the sense of urgency going into that
Mhm.
game. And remember those first few drives, they didn't necessarily end in scoring, especially the first drive. But I think they went for fourth down twice in the very first drive. And I thought he was trying to set the tone that, hey, we're going to come in here to get it, go get it, because we have to have it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Mhm.
I think he's going to be actually very similar with MSU. I think that if the first drive that Michigan has, if they get in a situation where there's 4th and 2, 4th and 3, maybe on MSU's 42, 41-yard line, where they're out of field goal range, they may try to go for that fourth down just to see if they can, understand the importance of trying to get on the board, getting ahead as soon as possible, and setting the tone for that game. So, no, I actually think Harbaugh's going to come out very, very aggressive um,
Okay.
on Saturday to set
Okay.
the tone. I think
Fair.
that's one thing he goes back and forth. I think in the games that he knows he must win against the better opponents, he's actually a lot more aggressive compared to the teams where he knows he's better than. He's a lot more conservative. You know, That I actually think it's more like that.
Okay. So my next question would be what well, sorry, typo. But what would going into East Lansing beating this team, what would that mean for Jim Harbaugh and this Michigan team?
It'll be an incredible confidence booster. It would be. It might be his biggest win, his highest ranked road win he's had at Michigan. I don't think he would have had a bigger road win at Michigan with all the states. Um, even because I'm trying to think, MSU's ranked ninth now. Now that Penn State's gone, lost. How did Oklahoma lose to Kansas? I have been watching that game.
No, Oklahoma won.
They won. You
Yep.
know, we'll see where MSU is going to be ranked next week. But I mean, you're talking about being a top 10 MSU team. I don't think he's got another top 10 win. Trying to think. He has to beat Ohio State.
I don't think
The years
so.
he's beat MSU, they were never ranked high.
Was
Wisconsin,
Notre Dame was that last year or 2 years
that
ago
was
with
two
the
years ago.
rainstorm
That was 2 years
when it was
ago. That's
like
a
a
good question.
monsoon?
I can't remember. I can't remember based on memory. I have to go back and
Well,
check.
nonetheless, that was
But
still a
on the
home
road,
game.
though, on the
Right,
road,
yeah. I was gonna say
like
that game
I think
was
it
a
would
home
clearly
game.
be his biggest win on the road. So
Yeah.
it would be monumental. I think. I don't think that's overstating it at all. It will be a monumental win next week.
That'd be man. I'm excited because that's gonna be just such a big game. And we'll dive a little more into it on Wednesday as far as just the specifics, but it's interesting. And another question I'll ask you: who do you think has the better run game? Not just running back, but run game.
Running game is Michigan. Running game
Uh,
is Michigan. And I believe that without a doubt. I think Michigan has a better offensive line. One thing I love about Michigan's running attack, rushing attack, is that and one play that really symbolized it was a great symbolization of the mentality of this Michigan football team. There was a play today in which I think I think it was like a 2nd and 3, 2nd and 6, and Hassan Haskins runs the ball up the middle, and almost looks like Northwestern stops him for a second. But all 11 guys, I swear, all 11 guys get behind Haskins, and they literally maul Northwestern for an additional 10 yards. Right? You know what I'm talking about? It was beautiful to see guys understanding their assignment, understanding physicality, mauling mentality, running back continue to drive his legs, pump his arms, offensive linemen, receivers, tight ends, not getting lazy and giving up on blocks. And it was a great symbolization of, I think, the mentality from a rushing standpoint of this offense. And I think from the way they block to the way the running backs rush the ball with their different strengths, Corum being more of the explosive guy, Haskins being more of the up the middle pace, lower his shoulder pass, go through you type rusher. I think Michigan is more diverse and definitely more powerful than MSU. Where MSU, I think it has a very good running back who's capable of being a game breaker at times. But overall, I think Michigan has a better rushing attack.
Yeah. I think the concerning part to me is I agree with what you're saying that Michigan has the better rushing attack. I think Michigan State has the edge when it comes to explosive plays, and that's the scary part. Is if you give up even let's say two explosive plays in the first half of potentially going down 14-3, 14-7 and being behind, like that's not something Michigan has done a lot of this year that we've seen how they perform in that spot because it's easy to say what you'll do when you're down 14-3, but it's something
Right.
totally different. You get to press in and you make throws that you probably shouldn't make because you're just trying to make a play and then more mistakes happen. It can easily be a snowball effect, but we'll see, man. But I'm excited. I'm excited. I think it'll be a really good game, and the atmosphere is going to be nuts. Like so for Michigan, it'll be the the positive is they've been in other atmospheres that have been pretty hostile so far this season. This is going to be the first one to have that plus the team be really really good. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, man. I'm excited.
Keeping your emotions in check as well. Not having
Mhm.
stupid penalties. Excessive play after the whistle. Got to keep. And that's tough to do in rivalry games. I know it's easier said than done. Playing with
Yep.
controlled aggression. And not hurting yourselves. That work. What's going to happen. It's guys going to be chippy. Guys going to be talking trash. It's a
Oh
rivalry game,
yeah.
in state. In-state rivalry, and you also got to be smart in these games too. Because that all matters. That all matters. Don't get any targeting calls. You know what I'm
No.
saying? Because you're trying to deliver a big hit. All that stuff matters, man. So you got to be having a controlled aggression, take care of the football, and capitalize on opportunities. Capitalize on opportunities. The team next week, we'll talk about it more on Wednesday. The team next week, the team that's going to win next week will be the team that makes the fewest mistakes, capitalize on the most opportunities, and is disciplined with their emotions. Those three things. Whatever teams does those three things the most will win that football game. Because both these teams actually are very similar. Different players, but very similar.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm a pretty firm believer that most games are lost and not won. So it's going to be mistakes that you either capitalize on or, nonetheless you're able to avoid. But I think more times than not, teams lose games more than teams win them. So
Right.
if you can be mistake free with the football, no bad turnovers, no bad mistakes, right? The punt return that goes far, goes deep in the other end, but you get a block in the back, way at that when the where the returner caught the ball. Same with kick returns. If you can avoid those types of mistakes, you'll put yourself in really favorable spots. And with all of the limitations Cade has, he's not going to throw two picks in this game Saturday. He's a guy that's pretty poised, and I think too having JJ, that he's probably going to have some snaps early, some meaningful snaps. I think you've got a pretty good combination. So we will see what
You
happens.
see what Mr. Jones said? Don't get a block punt with 15 seconds on the clock. Yes, yes. Hey, how about you don't have gunners when no, excuse me. When the Michigan State doesn't have any gunners on the outside, that you have a max protect on your
No, Michigan
punting
State
for
didn't even have a returner back to get the dang ball. There
They
was
didn't
no
have
one
gunners
back
either.
deep. No, they didn't have anybody guarding your gunners. So you get
Right,
a
right. And
yeah.
thank you for that
We
question.
don't. We don't need to really get into all of
Hopefully
that, but
Hopefully it comes out down to that Harbaugh learns this lesson.
yeah, yeah,
Make sure you protect your punter, man. Yeah, matter of
yep.
fact, that better be like one little quick thing that they mentioned. Hey, by the way, if by chance you do fumble the snap, just fall on the ball.
Fall on the ball. Fall on it.
And we'll live with what happens. Don't try to get it off. Fall on the ball.
You gotta coach your guys up before those situations
the-
happen.
it's
Gotta
called
coach them up.
the old ish moments. What
Hmm.
happens in the old ish moments, right? What do you do,
Hmm.
right? And same thing, and with the ball's backed up to, you're punting from your own 2 yard line,
Yep.
and you fumble the snap, kick it out of
Run out
bounds,
of bounds.
out of end zone, take the
Hmm.
safety, right?
Even if you're punting from
If
your
you're
own
up
10
more
yard
in
line,
defense, huh?
or 50, even if you're punting from your 10 or 15-yard line,
Yeah,
and the ball goes over your head, you coach the guys up to just kick it out of the back of the end zone.
right.
We'll take the
Just 2 points,
play defense,
keep going.
but don't try to pick it up and then punt it. Then it gets blocked and they score a touchdown.
Touchdown, and it's just a mess. So
It's not what you want.
those are the old-ish moments that are important for your guys to know. You said it earlier, situational
Situational
football,
football. Yep.
and those that we've seen it at Michigan plenty of times. You've seen it as a Bama fan, right? With the kick six. Like things happen in rivalry games. Crazy things happen, man. And like we always say, the team
And we've seen it happen.
we've seen it happen. Both of us have. The team that
That
makes
is unreal. Like, to really think about what happened in that year one of Harbaugh with the Michigan State. It's just unreal when you think about that.
yeah.
That is unreal. The last play of the game, the punter drops the ball, tries to punt it, gets blocked or just popped up in the air. Other team catches it and runs it back for a touchdown. Like, all of those things, the the chances of those things happening is so low. And for all of those things to happen on the same play to end the game is just crazy when you
Was it
really
Jalen
think
Watts
about it.
Jackson? I can still hear it in my mind.
Yes, Jalen
Jalen
Watson.
Watts
Jalen
Jackson,
Watson Jackson.
and he scores!
That was
Unbelievable! I can still hear that in my head. I will never get over that moment.
that was
I
actually
was
the
sick.
first that
I
was the
was
first
sick.
Michigan State. So that was the first actual Michigan tailgate I ever went to. So we were at the golf course and yeah,
I was
it
sick.
was a
I
mess.
was sick. I was looking at the game on my phone. I'm just like, I was at a party, and I was. Oh my gosh,
DJ James, bro, chill. Goodness gracious. We're not professional speakers, okay? Yeah, happens. Get over it. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead, Dre.
what's he talking about? You know.
Because I say that a lot of times when I'm talking. I say, this, whatever, irrelevant. Move on. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Hey
So
man.
where were you when trouble with the snap happened?
I was at a party and I was watching the game, and for I forgot what it was for, but I was watching it and I was had it on my phone, and I'm like, oh, okay, I felt good. It was fourth down. I'm like,
They got it. They won it. They're going to
15
win this
seconds
game.
left. If we can just get this ball off, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And I watched the snap. I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh my god, like, oh, he fumbled, oh, trouble with the snap. I'm like, oh, and then I'm seeing him grab the ball. I'm like, I'm with bated breath, and now it's going like slow motion to me, and I'm like, it, Jalen Watts Jackson, and I
Just
literally,
pops it right up in the air. It was
dude,
just perfect. Oh, yeah. That was
dude,
that was that was
dude,
unreal. That was unreal.
I literally like when they all six, and I can't remember. It was one Michigan defender, bless his soul. He was like running like zigzag back. He was trying to avoid all the MSU blocks. He was trying to get in the way, like hoping to trip Jalen Watts Jackson up. And poor guy, they just steamrolled him. And he was like six MSU. It was a group,
Yes.
man. And they was like, they
Yes.
made sure they protected Jalen Watts Jackson. And when he got to the end zone, man, I was just like my man's that they made the meme of, like his head's like out that why that meme is so incredible because
So many people
it
had that
that
same
exact
expression.
feeling that like, and even if you weren't showing that inside, you felt like that. Like I was just like, because you got to think about, and I know this is off topic, but you got to think about the emotions leading up to that moment. We just spent the last 5-6 years getting our butts kicked by Mark D'Antonio, right?
Mhm.
And it sucked. And we get Harbaugh here. It's like, okay, finally, we're about to get this thing back on track. And the team is doing uh way better than people thought they would. And we're playing MSU and we're about to win. We're like, yes, we're about to be back on top. If for that to happen that way, it was like the ultimate gut punch, man. I'm still
Yeah,
not.
and
I'll never forget that.
think of the season too. I mean, Michigan. I believe that was the year they had the opening loss to Utah, but from there they won out until the Michigan State game. You're
Yeah,
trending toward.
it was terrible.
You're like, man, we're in good shape. We're good. Oh, yeah, that was a lot. That
I
was a lot.
People were looking at me at the party, like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was pissed. I was pissed, like distraught. Like I didn't even want to do anything anymore. I'm like, this, because the beauty and hard part about rivalry games, the MSU game, and I'm looking at people's comments at the MSU game and Ohio State game is that when you lose it, especially when it's a tough game
Like
and it's
that.
like that, it's like a whole nother year of enduring the trash talk,
Yep.
and it's like, God, we were right there. It's terrible, man. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
But we definitely got to let the people know that tomorrow you and I will be golfing together. So we'll definitely have to give an update on Wednesday about who won the match. Because you've been talking a lot of trash.
I
I
have
will
been.
say you've been
I
talking
have
a
been.
lot of trash.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see
Can
what
I read
happens.
some of these before we go? Let me read some of these comments off. These are hilarious because I feel
Sure.
these people, man. Um, when this is about Malcolm. Hold on a second. Wait, I'm gonna go a little bit sooner. So, uh, Mr. Jones said, I think I said every curse word ever. I'm with you there. Malcolm Jill said was at work watching the ESPN update, didn't update for 7 minutes. When it finally updated, I was in disbelief. Kept trying
That
to refresh
is
the browser,
that's a
completely in
gut punch
denial.
to be able to see like, okay, Michigan's lining up to punt,
Yeah,
and then the next thing that you see is somehow Michigan State scored a touchdown and the game is over. I could
your
I feel
soul.
so bad for you, Malcolm
Oh,
Gill.
your soul probably left his body. This is by Chuck Brewer. I sat in silence for an hour, just sitting looking at the screen. I'm with you. Like that's what I'm saying. My man said I was like this.
Yes.
It was just
Ugh.
like it was the ultimate gut punch.
Yep.
Captain G, I don't know if this is true or not. Probably. I was feeding a homeless person and helping an old lady across the street. Okay. I'm what if you were, then you are a beautiful person. Uh, I just tuned in. Okay. Uh, Anton Johnson, right, bro, was real salty at the game. We all were. Um, and now to make things worse, my daughter went to MSU, and whenever I walk in, she has to take that's
Oh,
the worst
wow.
place she
First thing
plays
she
when I
plays
walk
when
in.
I walk in.
It's just like that.
Yikes.
Unbelievable. That will always be in. Oh my goodness. And I know guys, she's like, why are you doing this? We got this big game next week. It's in the past. It's because that's what adds the juice to this game, man. It's the
Mhm.
history. It's the gut punches.
Yep.
You want to know the opposite? I love, I had no problem. Braylon Edwards can be a little bit, out of it sometimes with his comments. But I could tell you one thing you can't say about Braylon. And we've seen this personally in '04. He kicked MSU's tail. You know what I'm saying? So
He
one of
kicked a
my
lot of
favorite
people's
moments was
tails.
when Braylon was taking MSU Spartan fans' soul when they knew the ball was going to him. And right now I'm being a fan. I'm not being an analyst. I'm being a fan right now. And he took their soul many times, baby. So best believe we got our own moments, but
He took a
so do
lot of
they.
people's souls. That
He
that dude
did.
was, especially once he switched to number 1, he was at a different level.
Hmm.
It was incredible. So, but cool. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining us. I think we ended up with like 80 something, 90 something folks in. So thanks so much. Join us Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for about an hour or so. We will preview the Michigan State game. Most likely, Mark will be with us as well, so you get to see his wonderful face. Big win for Michigan, 33-7 over Northwestern, and now we're trending towards the big rivalry as Michigan tries to bring Paul Bunyan home. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for joining us. We definitely appreciate it. I'm Des. That is Dre. Thanks so much. We appreciate it, guys.
Go blue.
Peace.